First Blood was released in 1982 and starred Sylvester Stallone, Richard Crenna and Brian Dennehy. It was directed by Ted Kochev and produced by Buzz Feations. First Blood tells the story of John Rambo, a Vietnam vet suffering from PTSD. After he discovers one of his friends has died from cancer, caused by Agent Orange being dropped during the Vietnam War, he despondently wanders toward a small mountainside town looking for something to eat. There, Rambo is met by Sheriff Teasel, played by Brian Dennehy, on the outskirts of town. The sheriff advises Rambo from entering, looking the way he does, and offers him a ride so he can continue his journey. After being dropped off on the other side of town by the sheriff, Rambo starts walking back. This action causes him to be arrested for vagrancy. Whilst being booked at the police station, Rambo has flashbacks to his time as a POW in Vietnam, and his natural instincts kick in. He fights his way out of the police station, steals a motorbike, and escapes into the nearby woods. As the police start to search the woods, a transmission comes in, telling them that Rambo not only fought in Vietnam, but was also a Green Beret and a Medal of Honor recipient. Sheriff Teasel, who fought in the Korean War, is not impressed and orders the search to be continued. When an overzealous police deputy starts shooting from a helicopter, Rambo saves himself by jumping off a cliff into the tree line below. When the helicopter flies lower to get a better view of Rambo's whereabouts, the ex-Green Beret throws a rock, causing the helicopter to swerve and the police deputy to fall to his death. Rambo tries to reason with the police, stating that the deputy's death wasn't his fault. Teasel fires a warning shot, causing some of the youngest police deputies to start firing as well. By the time Teasel can stop them, Rambo has vanished. The police resume their hunt, only to be picked off one by one. Rambo doesn't kill any of them, but maims them so that they cannot continue their search. When he catches up with Teasel, he warns them to let it go, before disappearing back into the woods. Back at the search camp, the state police and National Guard arrive, along with Colonel Troutman, played by Richard Crenna. Troutman was the one who trained Rambo, as well as being his commanding officer in Vietnam. He advises Teasel and the others to let Rambo go to defuse, then pick him up quietly in a week or two. This doesn't go down well with the sheriff, who is now visibly shaken by the previous events, but allows the colonel to try and contact Rambo, who has a radio stolen from the dead deputy. When the National Guard corner Rambo, Teasel orders them to keep him contained but do not shoot. The National Guardsmen, a bunch of local weekend warriors, disobey and end up firing a rocket at Rambo, trapping him in a disused mine. Rambo manages to escape, as well as avoiding his pursuers in the woods, and heads towards town. Once there, he blows up the local petrol station and the gun store as a distraction. He then zeroes in on Teasel, who is now hiding on the roof of the sheriff's office. Rambo injures Teasel, but before anything more can happen, Colonel Troutman arrives and tells him to stop what he is doing and hand himself in. Rambo breaks down, telling the colonel that his entire team are now dead and he doesn't know what to do anymore. He has visions of war that he cannot forget, and it is all becoming too much for him to bear. Troutman manages to calm Rambo down, and he surrenders to the police without any further shots fired. First Blood was filmed in and around Hope, British Columbia, and I feel the location was as much a character as the actors. It would have been a much different movie had Rambo not escaped into the cold, bleak and unforgiving looking environment that this movie was set in. The acting is pretty good all around in this movie. Sylvester Stallone does a great job of portraying an ex-soldier with psychological issues, and physically, he looks like someone who has been in some battles and knows how to handle himself. Brian Dennehy makes you feel almost sorry for Sheriff Teasel, a man who has gotten in over his head and is too stubborn to listen to reason. Probably the weakest link is Richard Crenna. He does an okay job, but just doesn't look like someone who's been through the muck and blood of Vietnam. The soundtrack was composed by Jerry Goldsmith, and it really gives the movie a dramatic feel. The scenes where Rambo escapes from the police station, and when he drives through the police barricade in a stolen army truck, really stand out with the swelling orchestral horns enhancing the action. I'm also quite partial to the end credits, where Dan Hill sings over the theme song. I even recall copying this onto audio tape by placing the tape recorder next to the TV speakers. First Blood was the first Stallone movie I saw. It played late one night on TV, and I was so excited to wake up the next morning and watch the VCR recording of it. I was not disappointed, and to this day, First Blood is still my favourite Stallone film. I feel like this movie is somewhat underrated being part of the Rambo franchise. This isn't a one-man army versus the world action blockbuster, but more a story of one man trying to come to grips with the realities of war and the effects it has on returning soldiers. As a fan of this film for so many years, it was interesting to recently discover an alternate ending, where Rambo doesn't make it to the end credits. This falls more into line with the book the movie is based on. I highly recommend reading the book, written by David Morrell, as it charts a different path for all lead characters, but ultimately goes down a darker path than would probably suit cinema goers of the day. Overall, First Blood is an excellent movie and paved the way for many other great action movies of the 80s. If you've not seen it, stop watching this video right now and go get yourself a copy.